mile this Saturday at Keeneland, and I think this is a race where personally I like to point towards looking for good 3-year-olds to win this race. And I think when it comes to some of the older horses, if they're any good, they should be pointing to the Breeders' Cup Class. So you kind of get those second tier older horses where I think it's the 3-year-olds you can kind of get to dodge the older horse. You can get into a Breeders' Cup race without having to necessarily take on the big boy. So I think it's just better for a 3-year-old to try to take this route to the dirt mile than it is for a older horse that, if they were good, would probably be going to the Classic. And I'm going to start with two horses I really like in the race. They're both going to be 3-year-olds. And one's going to be Simplification, from Antonio Sano. He picks up services of Luis Saez. The last few races he's kind of taken, ever since basically he had that bad break in the Holy Boy, he's kind of taken some close attacks. He used to run more aggressive on the pace. So I think this time the fact that, Saez picks him up and Saez is more of an aggressive rider, I think you'll see Simplification kind of more towards the front. Maybe not outright on the lead, but I think you'll definitely see him pressing the pace. And in the Pennsylvania Derby, that was his second start off the layoff, and it looked like he was, going to do good turning for home, and he kind of flattened out down the stretch. And I think the West Virginia Derby, he finished third, but I think that was just the, beginning to try to point to a race like this. And, of course, that was his first race since the Preakness, and of course he bled after the Preakness. So I think Simplification being third start of the layoff picks up the services, a more aggressive jockey. That certainly to me strikes somebody at 15-1. I'm very interested in playing, and he has enough back class, should make him real competitive in this race. And probably the main pick I have for this race would be Cyberknife from Brad Cox. And I know Cyberknife got third in Pennsylvania Derby and got second to Epsom and Trevor's, but I think the shortening back up in distance is going to do him a whole lot of good. He won the Haskell, had that rail trip, beat Taba and Jack Christopher, and then, of course, won the Matt win. It took him a few starts to really finally get going, as, this horse still has to figure it out mentally. And if he can take that step forward and start figuring it out, certainly a major player. And Brad Cox has done pretty good on, these British Cup races over the last few years. And this seemed like a race where Cyberknife, especially at 9-2, could come in there and get the win. And I'm going to talk about some of the older horses and kind of go into why I don't like them. And, one's going to be probably the most popular, if I can find it, be Laurel River by Bob Baffert. And, he does pick up the services by Rad Ortiz, but I don't think that Bob Baffert likes to, appoint his best horses to this race. And I know on the speed figure scale, he's right up there. But if you can remember, Dortmund raced, a few years back. I want to say it was 2017 and, got fourth. And then 2020, or 2019 or 2020, Probable ran, and Probable didn't do that great either. And you don't see Bob Baffert with a win in this Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And that's because I think that if his horses, the ones he has are really good, he points them towards the Classic. So for me, Laurel River is going to be a no-go. And the other horse I'm going to be probably playing against is Codys Wish. And I think Codys Wish, even though he did get that win over Jackie's Warrior in the Corrego, I just think he's still, just a slight, cut below the best of the horse. I think he's still a, most like a grade 2, grade 3 winner. And I think certainly these 3-year-olds can challenge him. He is going to be in my trifectas and superfectas, but at the short price you're going to get, and the way the 3-year-olds can jump up and do really good at this race, I'm tempted to play the 3-year-olds and try to, sprinkle a horse like Codys Wish. Another horse that I like to maybe get in the trifecta and superfecta is, Senor Buscador, and he got third behind Laurel River, but it's he was off slow, went really wide, and then of course won the ACAC. And I think this race maybe not good enough to win, but certainly a top 4 finish won't be out of the realm of possibility. So there you have it. I'm going with Simplification and Cyberknife in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And thanks for watching, guys. Plenty more to